The Cathedral of Light did not merely sit upon the hill, it dominated it, a marble fang piercing the heavens. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of frankincense and the heavier, copper tang of devotion. Dante, the High Inquisitor, and the celebrated Son of Light, stood before the massive golden baptismal basin. He was a creature of impossible beauty. His hair was a cascade of spun gold, his skin poss. Below the dais, a sea of faces looked up at him, nobles, peasants, and clergy alike, their expressions a uniform mask of adoration. They worshipped him not just as a priest, but as a living vessel of go. Dante dipped a ladle of cut crystal into the basin. The liquid inside was not water. It was a clear, viscous fluid that shimmered with a faint, hypnotic crimson hue, like a heartbeat trapped in glass. "The sacrament is potent today," Dante murmured. His voice was a perfectly tuned instrument, projecting to the back of the nave without effort. "The grace of the Lord flows through me to cleanse the bishop," a man whose skin was spotted with age and whose back was bent by the weight of time, approached with trembling hands. He held out a filigreed vial. "Your power is a miracle, Lord Dante," the old man whispered, his eyes wet with tears. "The Pope waits for this final vial, tomorrow's coronation. It cannot proceed without your blessing." Dante smiled. "Tell His Holiness that the light never fails. I shall retrieve the final essence from the source. I must pray alone." The bishop bowed so low his forehead touched the cold stone. "Bless you, Saint Dante." Dante turned, his cape swirling dramatically, and glided toward the sacristy. He pressed a hidden mechanism behind the altar of St. Jude, and a section of the marble wall ground open, revealing a dark, spiraling maw. As he stepped into the darkness, the angelic choir faded, replaced by a sound that the public never heard. A low, rhythmic thrumming. Thump hiss. Thump hiss. It was the sound of industrial bellows, the mechanical heartbeat of the church. The pristine marble gave way to weeping limestone, slick with black algae. Dante pulled a scented silk handkerchief from his sleeve, pressing it firmly against his nose. The deeper he went, the stronger the stench became, a vile cocktail of ozone, rust, and the sickly sweet odor of charred flesh. He hated this place. He hated the filth. But beauty required sacrifice. The dungeon was a cavernous void of iron and shadow. In the center, illuminated by a single flickering alchemical torch, hung the prisoner. Caspian! Surgically embedded into Caspian's chest, neck, inner thighs, and arms were dozens of transparent tubes. Dante stepped into the room, his white boots hovering inches above the grime. "Wake up!" Dante commanded, his voice devoid of its earlier warmth. Caspian did not move at first. Then, with agonizing slowness, his head lifted. His long matted gray hair fell away to reveal a face that was a skeletal mirror of Dante's own. "It is finished, monster," Dante said, smoothing the wrinkles of his gloves. "The Pope has ordered your execution. The reserves are full. For tomorrow's coronation, I require only the last, potent drop of your heart's blood. Your very existence is a blasphemy to the Lord." Caspian stared at the golden figure. "Blasphemy?" Caspian wheezed. The tubes in his neck vibrated with his speech. "Oh, Dante, my beautiful, ignorant keeper." He raises a handkerchief, the vile smell stinging his nostrils. Dante stiffened. "Silence. You should thank me. I am ending your misery." Shadows dance, obscuring the path ahead, hinting at unseen horrors. "Do you truly believe," Caspian whispered, his voice gaining strength, "that your so-called healing power, that golden light you wield, comes? I am the Son of Light. I am the Chosen One," Dante snapped, his composure cracking. "I have healed lepers. I have extended the lives of kings. You are nothing but a filthy blood bank, a parasite I have kept alive for the good of the church." Caspian coughed. A wet, violent spasm. Black, viscous blood splattered across the floor, spotting the pristine white leather of Dante's boots. Dante recoiled as if burned, wiping the spot frantically. "The Chosen One," Caspian mocked softly. "Look at you. 25 years have passed since we were born. You haven't aged a single day since we turned 18. You never sicken. You never bleed. You stand in the sun like a god, because I am blessed." Because you are feeding, Caspian roared, the sudden volume echoing off the damp stone. He strained against his chains, the metal biting into his wrists. 25 years ago, in this very dungeon, a woman branded a witch gave birth to twins. I have no kin. I was found on the altar steps. Lies. Caspian hissed. One child was born without a heartbeat, a stillborn. The other was so frail he wouldn't survive the night. I was the stillborn, Dante, and you were the dying runt. Dante froze. The hum of the blood pumps seemed to grow louder, filling his ears. To save you, Caspian continued, his eyes locking onto Dante's. Mother used forbidden dark magic. She resurrected me as a vampire, a creature of eternal endurance, and forged a cursed pact. My vitality would be eternally shared with you. Liar. Dante screamed, the denial tearing from his throat. You are a parasite, brother, Caspian said, his voice soft with pity. You are the shadow that thinks it casts the sun. Shut up! Blind rage took hold. Dante lunged forward, gripping the silver dagger with both hands. He plunged the blade violently into Caspian's chest, piercing the withered heart, shattering the sternum. Caspian did not scream, he did not thrash. Instead, he let out a long, shuddering sigh, as if setting down a burden he had carried since birth. With his remaining strength, Caspian gently lifted his skeletal hand. Kill me! And the pact breaks, Caspian whispered, blood bubbling at the corners of his lips. Brother, take my blood. Take it all. It is the last thing I can give you. Caspian's body went rigid. Then, the magic holding him together unraveled. Starting from the wound, his flesh turned to gray dust. His bones collapsed into powder. In seconds, the vampire was gone. Only a pile of coarse ash remained beneath the silver blade. The heavy iron shackles clattered against the wall, empty. The tubes fell to the wet floor, hissing as they sucked in air. Dante stood panting, his chest heaving. A rush of adrenaline, triumphant and electric, surged through him. He stared at the ash. Liar, he spat. The devil's lies. I am the saint. Then, the agony struck. Dante clutched his chest and opened his mouth to scream, but the sound that emerged changed midway, transforming from... He fell to his knees. He looked at his hands in horror. The skin, once plump and fair, began to wither like a rotting apple. Liver spots bloomed across his knuckles in seconds. No. No! My power, my face! He reached up to touch his cheek. His scalp burned as it went patchy and bald. His straight, proud back snapped forward, hunching into a painful, calcified arc. His teeth loosened in his gums, rattling like dice in a cup. Without the source, the false time had caught up. 25 years of stolen life, postponed by blood magic, were being collected in a matter of seconds. The Son of Light began to crawl on his belly. He clawed at the pile of gray ash that used to be his brother. With shaking, withered hands, he scooped up the dust and shoved it into his mouth. Help me, brother. Help me. His movements slowed. His heart, old and tired, gave a final erratic flutter. The dungeon fell silent, save for the mechanical pumps in the wall, hissing as they drew on nothing but air.